Guys, this is my friend Sean Rowland here, and he's helping me with my YouTube channel, so he's doing a Deskbot deck profile. He's not a poor scrub like me.
I'm not. Okay. We're going there. All right.
He has the monies in his deck.
I have more monies in my deck.
Well,
it's a Deskbot deck profile, right? It's like I won't say it's anti-meta, but man, you can have some fun with it, and it's not expensive. That's another reason I really like this deck is because all around it is cheap, especially with a lot of the new reprints and stuff. So yeah, let's break right into it. I run 2 copies of Deskbot 1. This card is really good as a tuner. I love the fact that you can special summon it from the graveyard if you special summon 2 or more machine types at the same time. That could be pendulum summoning or machine duping something. And when you do that, you can just special summon this straight from the graveyard. It also is a beat stick because it gains 500 attack and defense for every Deskbot, for every machine type monster you control. So there's that. Next I run 3 copies of 2. This card is your main searcher. Gets you what you need into your hand. There's a lot of combos that go around this, that focus around this card, and I love it.
It's stupid because it's not once per turn.
Yes, it's not once per turn. He also increases the attack of all machine types on the board by 500, except itself. I don't know why. Actually, I do, but I won't go into that. Yeah, so there's that. Next, I run 3 copies of 3. Yeah. 3 is the Swiss Army knife of the deck. You can normal summon him and then special summon any Deskbot from the deck. Any Deskbot. So that's really good. You can summon a 2 to get search. You can summon a 4 to run something over. Or, a 1 to make a synchro play, or whatever fits the bill, this guy can get it out. Not only that, but you can choose 1 Deskbot on the board and increase its attack by 500 times the number of Deskbot cards you control. So you can just imagine how big these guys can get when you start swarming the board.
He's a beast.
He is a beast. I love him. Then I run 3 copies of 4. This card is the rock of the deck, I like to call it, because when you summon this card, your opponent has to out it. This card has a really strange and interesting effect. When it battles, you can pitch a Deskbot from your deck to the graveyard besides Deskbot 4 to increase this card's attack by the level of the sent monster times 500. So if you send a Deskbot 5 to the graveyard, that busts him by 2,500 attack, puts him at 3,000. So you can run over, Ignister with this card. Your opponent doesn't take battle damage when you do that, but on the flip side, when you destroy the monster by battle, you get to then special summon 2 Deskbots. It has to be 2, but you get to special summon 2 Deskbots from your hand and or graveyard. So you can make some pretty cool combo pieces off this card. I top deck this card all the time against Hashim, and he hates it just because I just drop it on the board.
And that's why you hate Meteor Burst.
Yes, that's why I hate Meteor Burst. We won't talk about that, though. We won't talk about Meteor Burst. Okay, next we move on to the pendulums. I'm just going to lay all these out. Run 3 copies of 5, 2 copies of 6, 2 copies of 7, and 2 copies of 8. People ask me all the time, why don't I run an even scale? I run 5 scale 10s and 4 scale 1s. The reason is, it breaks. One of the biggest problems with this deck is the fact that you can draw multiple copies of a scale, or say you have 3 scales in your hand. Yeah, you might be able to activate 1, but you pendulum out one of these guys early game. Usually you can't make a play. So you have to hit it just right, otherwise it doesn't work. So I want to make sure I reduce that as much as possible. And something I had to give, and it was 6. So yeah, now that that's out of the way, I'll just move on to 5.
It's the good one.
5 is the good one, yes, he's right. 5 is my favorite Deskbot, actually, because of the plays you can make with this card. Well, that was impressive.
This screams.
This screams. 5 is good because when he's normal or special summoned, you get to destroy a spell or trap. So that's a really strong effect. You can, get rid of that pesky back row that you're worried about. You can summon this off of like a 3-play, and then pop a strike in the back row. And if they want to pay to get over 5, then, who cares? You get to then pendulum summon the next turn. So It can do that. It gains 500 attack and defense for every Deskbot in the face-up extra deck, which is kind of okay. It's only really good like really late game. It's kind of interesting to summon a 3, then go grab a 5 or a 6 that now has 4,500 attack, but that almost never happens. What does happen though is you use 5 and 6 as your scales. 5 is the best because when it's destroyed in the scale, you get to special summon a Deskbot from the graveyard just immediately. It's a Call of the Honey, basically. Or no, it's a Monster Reborn. And, so you can basically get back your 4, your 2 to get a search. You can get back 1 if you really want to make a synchro play. You can get back, a 6 that you pitched maybe to change something, battle position. There's a million and one combos you can make off of just this card.
Also Infinity.
Also, yeah, that's right. You can also create Infinity with this card. Go into Nova and then into Infinity with this card. And when you do that, you have popped 2, because you need 2 of them. If they're on the board, you've essentially popped 2 Speller Traps to get to that point, and now you're making an overlay play. So that's pretty strong. Blowing up a scale and then summoning Infinity is pretty strong. Then, it's kind of self-destructive. Then I run 2 copies of 6. 6 is less. It's not quite as good as 5, in my opinion.
It's a stapler.
It is okay. It's a stapler. Yes, it's a stapler. I think it's like an iPad or something too. But anyway, 6 when it's normal or special, you get to change the battle position of a monster, which it's okay. There actually is a combo with 4 in this card that is very good, but you have to use it correctly. You can technically use it in the right scenario to stop an attack, which I have done before. Very hard to do, but you can do it. It gains 500 attack and defense just like 5 did, and when it's destroyed, you get to add a Deskbot card from the graveyard to the hand. So that can be very good in and of itself, but I don't run it. I don't think it's very good right now because we don't have base yet. When we get base or any more spells or traps, this card's going to be infinitely better and might even be better than 5.
Nah.
Yeah. Next, run 2 copies of 7. This card is it's of the 7 and 8. I think this is the second best. It's really good because it does piercing damage, which can come in real handy if your opponent's, setting something face down and is just, being a wuss and doesn't want to get hit. Or what?
If they're being cowards, they don't want to die.
Yeah, if they're being cowards and they don't want to die, you can just summon this guy and pierce through whatever their shield was for game. Which you can do in this deck. That's my favorite part about it. Also, if you have both of them on the board, this is the only card that can be attacked when Deskbot that can be attacked when it's face up on the board. So if you have both of these, it's an attack lock on Deskbots. So that can be really good. It also gains 500 attack and defense for every Deskbot in the graveyard. So you can think after a synchro play, if you get this guy out, you can get him up to 3,500 attack pretty easily. So that's gonna get over just about everything in the game. And as the game progresses, you'll eventually get more stuff in the graveyard and increase its attack. So yeah, this is a really good card, but I might consider dropping it to 1. Just when 9 comes out. Then finally, last of the Deskbots, Deskbot 8. This card is really good in the meta right now because everything either targets or does some really weird stuff. Ignister is the one card that I know of that can get around this card.
Dark Hole.
Or dark. I'm talking about targeting specifically. But like, it's awesome. It feels so good to swing with your 4, then special this from the graveyard and something else. Like this and a 2, so you get a search. You still have your 4 on the board. I probably should explain the effect. Deskbot 8, when it's on the board, it is the only one that can be targeted for effects. It also gains 500 attack and defense for every Deskbot in the graveyard, and it can make 2 attacks on monsters per turn. So it can be very good. And just like with the 7s, if you have both of these on the board, it's a targeting lock. So your opponent can't blow up your scales with Twin Twister. They can't blow up your monsters with Dark Destroyer. They can't do any of that. As Hashim plainly put, the only way to get around it really is Dark Hole or Raigeki or some kind of massive board wipe. But since they're pendulums, they usually come right back. So it can be very, very effective as a card. And of 7 and 8, this is my favorite, just because you get to clear 2 monsters most of the time, and it's the only one that can be targeted, which means early game you can use it to protect your 4, and that can make life much easier. Moving on to the non-Deskbot cards, run 3 copies of Menko. Yes, Hashim gave me this idea, and I have benefited from it ever since. Yeah, it's a really good card. What it does is it special summons from your hand when your opponent declares a direct attack. So your opponent clears your board, which is inevitable in this deck. It just is. If somebody's going to counter you, they're going to clear your board. But this allows you to survive and then make the play next. Not only that, but it changes all monsters your opponent controls to defense mode. So that effectively ends the battle phase. The only exceptions being like, I don't know, what's it called?
Super Quants.
Super Quants, yeah, they're
Super Quants and sometimes Cosmos.
King Magnus and what Cosmos?
Because they can just banish and then special.
Yeah.
And then resume.
Yes, there is that. But other than that, it's really good. It can be searched out with Gigant, which is very, very helpful in the right scenario. Duping this, going into Gigant, and then detaching to search the other copy of Menko. That's a really strong play. And it keeps you alive, which is basically all you need in this deck, because as you saw with 7 and 8, the longer you're alive, the longer chance you have to get your monsters big. So, yeah, and then finally, for the monsters, 1 Gen X Ally Birdman. This is a really, I won't say it's a strange card, but it does contribute to bricks in the deck. I'm kind of on the fence about this card. It can be very good because it can bounce a scale back to your hand. It can bounce a 3 back to your hand if it gets Veilered. It can bounce anything back to your hand to reuse. It can also be used to go into your level 5s, your level 7s, your level 9s, and your level 8s, because Birdman really likes his 5s, his 7s, his 8s, and his 9s. So, yeah. I'm on the fence about it, though, just because if you don't open correctly, it is a dead draw, but it does open up some of your combo pieces as well. So, moving on to spells. I run 3 copies of Machine Duplication. This card is insane in this deck. If you dupe 2, you plus so quickly.
You dupe anything.
If you dupe 2 in particular, I think you plus
3?
You plus more than that because you search off of 2. So you go 1, 2, 3. You plus 6 off of this card. You could probably even plus more off of it if you.
And this is why you run Solemn Warning.
Yeah, right. Yeah. for all the junior players out there, this is why you run Solemn Warning, because Solemn Strike can't stop this. Yeah. Not that most of you are junior players anyway, but we just gotta cover all our bases. Next up, I run 2 copies of Twin Twisters. Gotta protect you from that back row from the Solemn Warning. Or
Triple Strike.
Or whatever your opponent has that can really ruin your day. But also, this card, in combination with 5 and 2, is actually a play. If you activate this, discarding 2, you can blow up the 5 scale, special the 2, get a search, and then make a play. So, yeah, very, very multi-purpose, we'll call it.
It's neat.
It is neat. It's very fun. Next up, I run 2 Dark Hole and 1 Raigeki. This is an OTK deck. It just is. And so, being an OTK deck, you need to be able to clear the board as soon as possible. But you have to clear it at the right time, because if you don't have anything for your 4 to swing into, it's kind of just a dead card on the board. It's kind of just sitting there, which can be okay at the right time, but I personally don't like it. If there is anything I'd like to change about this deck, actually, it's this, just because or at least the Dark Holes. I like Raigeki can be useful, but Dark Holes can just as easily screw you over as they can save you. So.
Nah, trust me. They're the ultimate game ender.
Yeah. Him and his speedroids, which we will give you a deck profile of at some point. Then I run 1 copy of Limited Removal. This card is a must-have in the deck, in my opinion. Actually, let me rephrase that. You don't need this card, but it can open up OTK plays. When 9 comes out, I don't think you necessarily need this card, but the idea that with base, you can... I was playing online, and you can literally OTK with 3, 1, and base and this card. So, why wouldn't you? And then finally, my tech card in the deck is Transmodify. This card is very, very strange to some people. I have seen I think I saw one build of it, way back when, before we had 7 and 8. People who normally run this deck for Nat Beast want that first turn Nat Beast. And the problem is I felt like it was so... Foolish Burial can be dead at the wrong time. And that's very dangerous, even if you have Glow Up Bulb.
It's dangerous except during first turn.
Exactly. Or, more importantly, late game. If you top deck it late game, it's a dead card. So
yay, they killed me.
I tried very hard with this deck to make it as consistent as possible. And this is... What's today's date? This is the 15th of April in 2016, so the ban list just dropped at the beginning of the week, or it just came into effect at the beginning of the week, so I don't have my upstarts anymore.
He couldn't be unoriginal, just splashing upstarts.
Yes, exactly. Well, but this card can do the same job as Foolish Burial in the deck, but it can also save you from Veiler. If somebody Veilers you 3, which is what people love to do against Deskbots, you now have a card that you can send 3 to the graveyard, summon a 4. Now they have a problem card they've burned out something, and now they have to deal with a 4 without a Veiler. So, in my experience, that's a very good play. So I put it in and I keep it in. I might even put it at 2 in my side deck. Moving on to the traps, I run 2 copies of Threatening Roar. Just stay alive in this deck. The longer you stay alive, the longer chance you have to get to your combo pieces. At least that's my motto after Upstart got limited.
Well, because you can't just, draw for days.
Yeah, exactly. I also run 2 Storming. I'm not sure how I feel about this card. People tell me it's the best one. I disagree. I think that Quaking's much better. I think I might put Quaking back in. I ran this earlier in the tournament that I went to, and it was good, but I felt like it could very easily be mismanaged if I go up against Cosmos or something else. So, yeah, just another 2. And then finally, 1 Strike, because it's Strike.
Because $60 is good.
Because $60 is good, and because you need a gigantic price tag on your deck for some stupid reason.
Hey.
No, this card saves you from Veiler, it saves you from Ghost Ogre, it saves you from Max C, it saves you from so many important cards that can be problematic for you. So, Max C probably isn't much of a problem. But,
Who's like, oh man, they dropped a Max C on me, better stop my entire play?
Well, yeah, that's what Max C does.
Nah, you kill him that turn.
Mm-hmm.
You make sure that they draw.
Yeah. It is harder to do that with this deck right now, but it can happen, and it does happen. Moving on to the extra, I run 1 copy of Sky Calvary Centuria. You can use it with your 2s, and if necessary. This will get your 2s off the board, and it makes it easier for you to extend your plays. It's also good at spot removal to get rid of the big monsters that are in your way.
Plus, it doesn't target.
That's amazing. That's another good thing. So you can get your Dark Destroyer, the Dark Destroyer off the board if it's a problem.
Too bad they have Farm Girl.
Yeah. But anyway.
Next time.
And then I run 1 copy of Gear Getting an X. It searches just about everything in the deck that's level 4 or lower, so that's awesome. And I think it's necessary in the deck. Gives you another dupe play, so very important. Then I run 1 Nova for the 1 Infinity. Infinity's way too good not to run in this deck. Like I said, you can go double 5 into Nova and then into Infinity, blowing up 2 back row as you do it, so that's pretty insane. Then, as for the last rank, I run number 38. I love this card. This card just came out in gold, and I have been exploiting the hell out of this card. There are some crazy plays. You drop both this and Infinity on the board, and your opponent can just cry sometimes. So, yeah.
That's when they need to make a hand trap Dark Hole.
Especially when we see the Synchros in the deck, because I love Synchro Summoning, and it's my favorite mechanic in the game. Run 1 Arclight. It shuts down Mermails. It shuts down. It shuts down Mermails. It shuts down PK Fire. It shuts down Monarchs even. Like you said, with all the battle traps that I have, it can be very, very good. Just banishing all the stuff that goes, that would normally be discarded or milled. So, can be very good at the right time. Then I run 2 5s. I run 1 Catastor and 1 Nat Beast. Nat Beast is insane. It's amazing. I won like 2 duels. I won 2 duels just because I dropped Nat Beast.
He was playing Pendulums.
I was playing Pendulum players. You drop Nat Beast on Pendulums, they can't deal with it. They can't even get over its stat. They can drop the Cyber Dragon all they want. They can't get over it. So yeah, and Catastor is also something you can go with Birdman, because you can't synchro for Nat Beast using Birdman. You have to have an Earth Tuning. But you can go into Catastor, and then Catastor's a level 5, which will help you go into Nova, which will help you go into Infinity. Also, it's, in my opinion, the best level 5 synchro in the game.
That's
generic.
actually Chambara.
Generic level 5.
Chambara's the best.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Generic. Okay, this against Chambara. Who wins?
Dark Hole. Dark Hole will always win.
Okay, cry. All right, then I run 1 copy of Barkion. Because PK Fire became a thing, I think it's necessary to put Nat Beast Barkion, or Naturia Barkion back in the deck. I was running Metaphys Horus, but it just wasn't seeing enough play for. I didn't think it was worth it. Barkion, on the other hand, it can help you stop plays, so I think it's necessary. Then on 2 7s, Black Rose and Clearwing. Black Rose, when you can Black Rose the board and then recover because of 5, it's pretty insane. I've had plays where I've been, on the downside, and I'll swing with I'll swing at the 4 at the beginning of the turn, pitch an 8. Once the 8 or the 7's in the graveyard, I'll then move, stick around till my next turn. After that, I'll blow up the entire board and swing for 4,000 damage. So, it's pretty insane. Then Clearwing, because it's really good. I mean, if they target a level 5 or higher, it can stop it. If they, if you're running against Monarchs, they just cry because they can't use their effects. It's a very, very good card. Run 2 8s, 1 Scarlight, and 1 Omega. Omega is really good at hand control, which honestly, in my opinion, is a very important part of the game. If you let your opponent, if you can survive and you can go into this, the more advantage you can get in this game, the better. So Omega can play with the hand. There's so many times I've played against Hashim where I take Menko out of his hand and he cries because he can't stop my attack.
And then I just get beat to death.
Yes, you get beat to death by 4-inch tall Deskbot supplies, whatever. Anyway, so Omega, really good. Also, it helps you shuffle some stuff back into your deck if you're running thin on something or you want to search something new out. So that's really good. Then Scarlight blows up the field and burns for damage, and it's really good. So there you go. Then I run 1 Trishula. If there was a card I think I would take out of the extra deck, it would be either Barkion or Trishula, just because Trishula, while it's good, you have to hit it at just the right moment. Granted, if you do get out Trishula at the right moment, your opponent can't make a play. That's how powerful Trishula is, but if you do it at the wrong time, they'll be able to beat right over it, and you won't be able to recover. So,
Because you burn too much?
Yeah, too much. It hurts too much. So, yeah. And then finally, 1 Deskbot Jet. Deskbot Jet is viable. I don't care what anyone else says. It'll become even more viable when we get base, because we'll have 10 things that can be used for base's last effect instead of just 9. It's also fantastic at extending plays. I've been able to get out fields of Barkion, Nat Beast, and Harbinger because of this card. I've been able to make so many insane plays just because of this card. I'll let you guys look up the effect and imagine for yourselves. But yeah, I don't have a side right now because, like I said, the format just changed and I'm still hashing it out. Side decking is, while it's not that hard in this deck, you do have to, obviously think about what the meta is right
He's
now.
the guy who took 2 minutes at regional side decking, wondering.
Well, yeah, and I won. I didn't top, but I got close. Well, as 55, so
55 out of, I don't...
top 24, so I was pretty close. There was only one player I went up against that I couldn't beat, so put that in perspective. Anyway, but this is my deck. I love it. I enjoy it. This is not the profile I went up against in the last regionals, but I will be updating it as soon as we get Shining Victories because Basin 9. Oh my God, Basin 9. So.
So many commons to hope for.
So many commons to hope for. So many commons to hope for. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you guys took the time to watch this. I hope I helped you guys out. Let me know what you guys think about the deck. Any ideas you have for side decking with this? We had a buddy of ours that suggested Ojama Trio because of PK Fire. I personally I love Ojama Trio just because it can be slow, but it can also be really fun just to troll your opponent if they can't get around it or synchro with anything. So I think that could be really good. Gozen and Rivalry are options in this deck. And obviously you can just toss in a warning and see what happens. But yeah, I'd like to know what you guys have to what you guys think of this. And yeah, shout out to Hashim.
We're holding the camera.
Okay. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys later.
And thank you, Sean, for making this video possible.
You're welcome.